All right, welcome to Sea Otter. Sea Otter Slalom is definitely the biggest slalom race we have every year. Sea Otter itself is a massive expo with a ton of different racing and vendors. And Saturday night is when we get to race dual slalom in front of a crazy crowd of over 1,000 cheering fans. And we all get to fight it out to try and win that prestigious Sea Otter title. I think this is my 10th year doing a Sea Otter. I think the first time I came here was 2010, so 2024. 14 years later, we're back at Sea Otter doing what I've always done here, which is race dual slalom. My biggest enemy, double one. Heather. Hi. Good to see you, sir.
That's a nice tight turn.
That's really tight, huh? That's what I was thinking too. Yeah, this is gonna be a tricky corner.
Yeah.
Pretty flat. Yeah, looks pretty hard.
It's actually really hard. I want some knobbies.
First official squish patty has been located.
What they have.
This is a Sea Otter staple right here. This is when you get a bunch of water trapped underneath and some dry dirt on top, and it looks dry and packed, and it's just as wet as possible. If you're ever playing Mario Kart and you hit those things where it kind of slows you down, yeah, so this is what they had to deal with. I heard Mitch brought his snorkeling gear. I heard Kyle got scuba certified for this build.
Yeah, super easy.
And at the end of it, we got a slalom track. Oh, this is squishy. Oh well, what can you do? It'll be the same for everybody. Okay, here we are. Start line's right here. Couple rollers, nice big berm. 5 rollers. That's about the only rhythm we're gonna get this year. But the track looks fun either way. I think it'll always be good racing. The athletes is what makes good racing. So, but it's gonna be a little different than years past, that's for sure.
Riders ready. Watch the gate.
All right, so dual slalom, how does this racing discipline even work?
Dual slalom is head-to-head racing on nearly mirrored tracks. For qualifying, you get 1 run on each course. You'll get a time on each of those courses and a combined time for the overall. You go around a gate, that's a disqualification, and unless you walk back up and go around that flag, you do not get a time on that side. First place qualifier will go with 32 place qualifier. Once we get into bracket racing, it starts with a round of 32, so that means 16 rounds of 2 racers at a time. The maximum differential you can get on one side is 1.5 seconds. So if the person beats you by over 1.5 seconds, it doesn't matter. It's still 1.5 seconds max. It's a full elimination. So if you lose a round, you're out. Racing goes through round of 32, round of 16, round of 8, and then you'll have your semifinals, which would be your round of 4. And that will bracket your small final, so your battle for 3rd and 4th place, and your big final, which will be your battle for 1st and 2nd place. And that's how we crown a winner. So the goal is going to be to get to that final this weekend. We'll see if we can do it. All right, it is Thursday. We got slalom practice coming up here, and today we got qualifying as well. So got to get up to speed quick, practice straight into qualifying. Try and figure out this track as quick as we can and start getting it up to speed. Pretty confident on my bike setup. I ended up going with some slightly knobbier tires. The track's pretty natural this year, so I think a little bit knobbier setup will actually be pretty good. Give her a try, see how she goes. I'm talking to my friends online. Say hello. Hello. Are you the winningest slalom racer at Sea Otter? I think so.
Hopefully, she says. Jill Kittner is an 11-time consecutive Sea Otter slalom winner, which I think very much makes her the most winningest slalom racer in Sea Otter Classic history. Anyways, back to it.
Good to see you.
How's life, dog?
This section's gonna be hard. It's gonna be sliding everywhere.
Yeah, it should be going down, dude.
Going down. First lap battle. It's definitely easy to overcook these corners. Later.
You can't do that, Nico.
It looks like a lot of people are like trying to override it and end up, yeah, doing that. Not making corners. Oh yeah.
Lucacometti, consistent runs there, 32-4 and a 32-7.
We just wrapped up qualifying here at Slalom. I was able to get into 7th, which I'm happy with. 2 clean runs. So going to Saturday, first heat should at least be somewhat easy, but who knows? So many people made mistakes, so I could even be paired up against one of the top guys who just made a mistake. So it's hard to know, but it's always stressful trying to get through qualifying. So just happy to get around all the flags, not go down, and yeah, bring it home in 7th. So got a couple days off now, and then we got some racing on Saturday. I went into the round of 32 and met up with Evan Metcalf. I believe that was the first time he'd ever raced an elite dual slalom. So he kind of had nothing to lose. I felt like I had everything to lose. I was a better qualifier. I was on the blue course for our first round, which came to realize was a little bit slower of the 2 courses. So the first round he actually put in 0.2 differential into me. I knew going into the second round I had to keep things tight and beat him by over that 0.2 margin. Coming down the track, I was feeling pretty smooth. I was kind of hitting all my lines that I had practiced, and luckily was able to cross the line and move into my round of 16. Going into the round of 16, met up with course builder and my good friend Kyle Straight, who is always a threat at slalom. We got into the gate, and this time I actually had the faster course. I know racing Kyle, you pretty much have to go as hard as possible. So I knew that while I had to have clean runs, I also just had to push more than I had all weekend. I was actually able to get a 0.5 differential on him for that first side. I knew I had that 0.5 differential to my advantage, but that didn't mean that I could cruise down my second run. I knew that things were going to be close no matter what. The gate dropped, we were battling it out. He pulled away from me.
Lyle and Luca right now. Kyle Straight trying to make up a gap on Lucacometti. He needs 0.59 of a second. It looks like he's going to do it. Kyle wins by over a second, so Kyle Straight moving on. Slinky out on course right now.
So that meant he moved on to the round of 8, and I got to watch from the sidelines. All right, well, round of 16 was all we had this year. Once you start racing, it just who makes the least mistakes and who can push the pace the hardest. And Kyle edged me out by like maybe half a second, but he was riding good. And although I raced over 100 miles in the first episode, it's almost more tiring racing 30 seconds a few times because you're just doing all-out sprints the whole time. So I'm gassed. It's crazy how it just takes it out of you when you're not riding for that long, but the intensity is just so high. I went into full spectator mode at that point, which honestly, when you're racing, you don't really get to see how hectic that event really is. You're kind of just in your zone, trying to focus on your racing. But when you get to step away and just really see how big of an event that is and how crazy the spectators are going, it just really makes appreciate that form of racing that we get to compete in. Going into the finals, at least on the men's side of thing, it was Mitch who qualified first against Nick, who I think qualified back in 11th. But Nick was kind of that silent killer all day. He just kind of kept going through his rounds, never looked super flashy, and coming into the final, I think Mitch had the advantage on round 1, but not by all that much.
Serious stuff right here. Just getting the right gear ready for the next gate. The front was washing.
And then Nick was able to get that advantage in round 2, and it was enough for him to take the win. So it was awesome to get to see Nick win his first dual slalom. And I know that Nick, just like me, grew up going to Sea Otter and grew up watching the pros race slalom. And I'm super proud of him for being able to take that win. I know he's wanted that one for a while now. Okay, well, now that we got dual slalom wrapped up at Sea Otter, we are making the trek east out to Grass Valley, California for the TDS Enduro.
Yeah.
Listen to this crowd. It's like a World Cup here. It's crazy. TDS is one of my favorite events every year. It's on private property and it's an invite-only enduro. And I'm going to be racing e-bikes this year. Last time I raced e-bikes there, I was able to get second place. But that was a few years ago, and the class has gotten way more competitive now. So I'm excited to battle it out with a bunch of friends on motorized bikes and see if we can't get that Canyon Strive on that top step of the podium this year. We'll see you guys in episode 3 of 10x2. Thanks for watching.
Nigga to hit the land with the mic in hand and SP and get it like Dizzy Gillespie, and this is how I do, not 3 or 2, but 1 nigga from Queens full of hip hop fiends.